A lesson in spell usage. Pekabo, Bat, Town Hall 11 and Town Hall 10. That's what we're going to have a look at in this video. Before we do that, I'm Mister. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, take a moment to hit that subscribe button for daily uploads of gaming content. Let's get into this. Pekabo, Bat, Town Hall 11, then Town Hall 10. Having a look at the wise use of the spells. Not just the timing, but the use of them. Spells could have been used elsewhere, but they weren't. So we've got a little bit of a funnel going down first here, not even really waiting too long for the king. Let's just get that trash out nice and early. Baby dragon down. Baby, let's just have a look at the range. Yep, okay, outside of the range. And once that cannon goes down, it'll path over to the left and go in range and get shot down. Okay. So pretty obvious we're going to come in from this direction, even if you didn't figure that out. You have to come in that way for the town hall, for the ram to go to the town hall. Now what I found interesting here is that the eagle has targeted two different things. It's targeted this pecker and this pecker, and it's split up. So I thought that was a little bit interesting. Instead of just targeting the one, it changed targets but still attacked them both. Okay, great use of the spells here, and then the second spell, and then holding off on the freeze spells, obviously. We'll get the eagle down, get this expo down, punch through that wall. Look, the healers kind of did their job, and I think they stay up to the end. I can't remember. I wasn't really paying too much attention to the healers, but here come all the bats, and you can see that all the splash damage wizards really on this side, only one here. Nice use of the flanking ice golem. Now, if the ice golem bursts, then that's great. If not, have to use the freeze. So freeze spell on the that's not a cannon, on the expo, freeze on the multi, and then freeze on the wizard. And you notice that wizard's shot just missed the bats as they flew over to the side. I'm not sure if you've ever paid attention to when a cannon shoots something that's moving and the cannon's ball actually tracks, but in this case the wizard's shot didn't track at all. So that's an interesting thing, that the bats were too fast for the wizard's blast to track. Haven't seen that before. Usually the way the timing is, the bats all get wiped out, but in this case with the freeze spell it didn't really matter. So even though the initial rages could have been used slightly differently, very good timing on the initial rages. Good use of the king's rage ability early on. Don't need to let him just waste a bunch of time. He needs to do a job. Let him do the job. We'll have a quick look at this one again, just to check out what's happened to the wizard. So we'll just speed up through this funnel process a little bit, and then we'll get through to the main bat deployment area, so that we can see, just following the bats only, concentrating on the bats is what we're going to be doing. Okay, we're almost there. Nice use of the peckers, and then just getting all the healers down. And okay, pecker over on the right hand side. Let's just zoom this in, and we'll just follow the bats around. Okay, and you know what we might do even? Let's have a look at this in slow motion as well. Let's just see what happens with the wizard and the bats in slow motion. Now, one thing I have noticed in the slow motion, and I mentioned it briefly before, is that if you watch a hero or something getting targeted by a Tesla, you'll notice that their health bar goes down a fraction just before the beam from the Tesla hits them. So I thought that was an interesting observation. Only in the slow motion though is what you see it. Okay, so coming on to that freeze spell on the multi. Okay, keep an eye on the wizard here. He's going to have a shot, and look at that. The bats just all flew away from his shot. That was incredible. Good. The multi's taking out a heap of bats, but just too many bats in that area. And game over. The ice column didn't even get to pop, and we can speed this up now. Ice column didn't even get to pop. No popping from the ice golem. Still have healers up, Queen's almost back at full health. Grand Warden, Pekka's up too. So yeah, it was a nicely wrecked base. Good use of the spells. Good use of holding the spells until needed. Keeping an eye on the bats and then dropping them accordingly. That's the hardest thing, just to try and think whether pathing. Yeah, okay, I'll drop that now. I'll drop that now. Because as you saw in the previous timing is everything video, I'll just put a link up above me if you haven't seen that one, where half a second was all it took to wipe out the bats, half a second of misspelled timing. Let's have a look at Town Hall 10. Queen Walk, Pekka Bobat now. 2 freezes in this one. That's what we're going to be seeing here. 2 freezes in this one. Now there was something in this war. I do believe they used the same base twice in this war. We might have a look at the approach to both of those attacks. Might be a good idea. Anyway, we'll save that for another video. Let's have a look at Town Hall 10 Pekka Bobat. Use of the spells here, the spell usage, the smart use of the spell usage. Queen's coming down here. Healers on the Queen. And Baby Dragon helped create a little bit of a funnel over there. Just trying to stop the Queen from pathing around to that right-hand side. I feel if the baby can come in and take out this, once the Queen takes out these couple of things, take out the archer, she should path left. That's what she should do. Yep, okay, she's going to path left. We've got the Pekka going down on this side. So just as you just saw, we're using a Pekka this time instead of the king to path down to the left. And hopefully that Pekka's going to come inside. No, Pekka's going walking. Okay, so 2 more Pekkas coming in with the siege machine. Queen's going in. Healers are going in. Everybody's going in. Now you did notice, and I didn't point it out, but we'll have a look at the second time, that he used the Queen's ability instead of a rage spell. Why? Because he wants to save the rage spell for inside the base. Both rage spells for inside the base, instead of using one to keep the Queen alive, using the Queen's special ability to keep the Queen alive. And I know people have asked previously, when do you know to use the Queen's ability versus to use a rage spell? Well, it's all going to depend on what you want your rage spells for, if they're all devoted to the Queen or not. So in this case, the rage spells were to be devoted to the push into the base. Free spell and then the bats on the right hand side. Now there's 1 splash damage here. Well, it's kind of splash damage, multi-inferno onto the bats over that side. And that's it. That's the free spells done. The bats have to take on the Tesla farm. Then they have to nuke out these air skellies, which won't really be too much of a problem because even though the air skellies will do a lot of damage, there's a lot of bats there. Okay, and we're just waiting for the cleanup to go. So we'll have a look at it again. So the idea is he has to use the Queen's ability because he wants both rages for inside the base. If the Queen goes down, the Queen goes down even after using the ability. But if you absolutely need both rages inside the base, you don't really have a choice. In terms of a normal Queen walk, again, it's going to be depending on what you have designated the Queen's task to be. Does she have to stay up as long as possible? Are all of the rages for her, or is there some other plan? There's no real cut and dried thing to say, under these circumstances you use the Queen's ability, under these other circumstances you use the rage spell. There was one Queen walk attack that I did where there was a cleanup and the original attacker had cleverly, the way that the Queen pathed was, and the use of the poison, did not need to use the Queen's rage on the Queen to take out the clan castle. So to keep the Queen's walk apart, the Queen didn't need a rage on her with the healers to take out the clan castle. Just the poison was sufficient, because by the time that the troops came out, it just worked out that way. So when I'd seen that in the replay and I thought, well, that'll save me a spell for later on, and it means that I can then use the ability for later on. So it became part of that planning of when I wanted to use the ability or when I wanted to use a rage spell to keep her up. So that saving of that rage spell is what I observed from the original attack. Otherwise, the default would have been to just put a rage spell on the Queen. But if you hadn't seen the original attack and you just saw my 3-star, then you'd be saying, Mister, how did you know that the Queen would have survived without a rage spell, because everyone just automatically plonks the rage spell down? How did I know that? Is because the first attacker did it without a rage spell, whether it was on purpose or accidental, and the Queen survived. So I only needed to do slight modifications on it. So again, that's why we didn't have the Queen rage spell here in this case, because both of the rages were to be deployed inside the base, and not one for the bat spell either. The freeze was taking care of that. So it's just showing that even though the Queen could have done with a rage spell to keep the Queen up, we couldn't have that happen. So it's a clever use of it's the correct use of the spells to enable the attack to go ahead. Because if the rage had been used on the Queen, then the Queen's ability saved later, it doesn't do the same effect as the double rage did with the bowlers and the peckers with inside the base. So that's why it's a clever use of the spell usage for both this Town Hall 10 and the Town Hall 11 attacks. Clever spell usage. Okay, that's it for this base. Look at all the troops that are left up. There's 4 Peckers, I think, still left up. That's incredible. I think there's 3 there, 3 Peckers and 4 Peckers, and he only brought 5 Peckers all up. And there was probably, I don't know, half a dozen bowlers. So this base got wiped out pretty definitively by this attack. Anyway, that's all I've got for this video. Thumb up, share the video, leave a like, comment, whatever you need to do. Until next time, thanks for watching.